Chapter 511. Aware that there was no benefit to stalling, Kyol took a seat without resistance. Yudir was the first to speak. After we last met, I conducted my investigation into those healers. I want to first confirm whether the people I found out about are the same ones who frequent the place before we continue our discussion. Alright, go on. Yudir recounted the numbers and descriptions of the awakeners from the Star of Nagran he had personally observed. Listening with the utmost caution, Kyol clenched his fist and yelled, "That guy!" As soon as Yudir mentioned the actual sage, who appeared to be middle-aged. "He's the leader of those healers." "Is that so? Then the people I described are all associated with those healers?" "It seems so." Kyol looked at Yudir with eyes filled with suspicion, caution, and a hint of fear. Knowing exactly what he must be thinking, Yudir kindly broke the silence. "You must be wondering how I found out about their appearances and attire when I haven't even received any information. I assure you, it's not as frightening as you think." Startled, Kyol tensed up and recoiled. "I didn't read your mind to find out, of course. There are methods for these things. Stop wasting time with unnecessary thoughts and answer my questions. ... Do you know their names?" "I don't remember. Although I vaguely recall the name the leader mentioned when he introduced himself." Kyol trailed off, shaking his head, but a moment later he seemed to remember and lifted his face. Chinen? Have you not investigated these healers since we last met?" "What does remembering their names have to do with investigating them? What's important is what they are doing, not their names, which could be aliases for all we know." Kyol snapped back, clearly embarrassed by his own foolishness. Yudir looked at him disdainfully and moved on. "So, what peculiar activities have you noticed about them?" "None. They have come a few more times to treat the Crown Prince since then, but..." According to Kyol, the healers always visited on scheduled dates, accompanying a chamberlain into the Crown Prince's chamber. They then spent about an hour in the dimly lit room filled with lit candles, mumbling something around the peacefully sleeping Crown Prince. That was the entirety of their treatment. After listening to Kyol's account, Yudir paused to think before speaking. "Do you know what they are saying during those times?" "I don't. They speak in whispers so soft even the chamberlain can't hear. Unless the Crown Prince tells us, there is no way to know." "You never personally attended to observe?" ... Kyol's expression twisted. He seemed to struggle for breath, his face flushed with humiliation and rage before he finally answered. "I had initially intended to, but His Highness forbade me. Then those con artists looked down on me and had the audacity to make a disrespectful offer." Although it was hard for him to articulate each word without violating some vow, it was not difficult to surmise his meaning. Initially, he was unable to attend because the Kashtian side had refused his presence. Later, although the situation improved slightly, Kyol's pride was wounded and he became furious when the healers themselves offered him the opportunity to join them. Just hearing the rumors gives me a good idea of how that man is faring in the Crown Prince's palace. The common workers of the Bright Palace, where the Crown Prince resided, must have felt as if they were walking on thin ice, as though there were two Crown Princes. Anyway, it's clear that Kyol is not as trusted by Kashtian as I thought. I would have done the same if I were Kashtian, but still. "You're a bodyguard, and yet you can't even enter the Crown Prince's bedroom? Doesn't that just mean the Crown Prince doesn't trust you, and that's why others are treating you that way? If you are in such an ineffective position, I might have to reconsider our collaboration." "What are you talking about? You think I'm the only one who couldn't go in? All the other knights were the same. Even the servants couldn't enter at first. You're still saying this when I'm the only one chosen to protect His Highness today?" I even verified the identity of those guys for you. Indeed, Keol was quick to flare up, speaking without reservation at the slightest provocation. In the first place, the reason I became His Highness's bodyguard was because there was no one else who would bridge the gap between the Bright Palace and the outside world. I was the one who first had the privilege of greeting him when he refused even meals and stayed in his bedroom during hard times, before those quack healers arrived. I see. Who do you think rallied the demoralized guards and servants? Who comforted His Highness, ensured that meals were delivered consistently, and took care of the broken mirrors and utensils? Who's keeping an eye on those fraudulent healers? Me, it's me. Do you think I could do all that without his trust? How dare you when you know nothing? Noticing how sensitive Keol was to the phrase, a bodyguard who doesn't have his lord's trust, Yudhir could make even more precious conjectures about Kashtian, who had been reclusive since the assassination attempt. So, before meeting those healers, he stayed in his room, refused meals and contact with anyone, and even broke things. He's more volatile than I thought. It was not a completely unfamiliar story. In his previous life, Kashtian sometimes shut himself in his room after his Western reconstruction policy failed. Without any given reason, he postponed state affairs and confined himself for 2 or 3 days, ordering that no one to be allowed near him. Even Yudhir, who executed the emperor's most secretive orders, had no idea what happened in there. After he started ruthlessly cutting off the limbs of powerful noble families, including his own backers like the Diarca Duchy, using assassinations and various means, such episodes became less frequent, but it had happened. The emperor repeated such behavior until the sage of his previous life appeared, and it got worse after the sage's death. When the Awakener King Ajayn led Nirlan to rapidly grow and openly confront the empire, when news arrived that natural disasters had led to increasing resentment towards the emperor, and even after praising Yudhir for his accomplishments, then suddenly confining him to house arrest and forbidding palace entry the next day without any particular reason. And what about the day Yudhir was executed? He didn't even show up, claiming illness. Yudhir paused his flowing thoughts and exhaled softly. At any rate, it was fortunate that Kashtian Lahore was not the emperor right now. However, the fact that both the sage of his previous life and the real sage of the Star of Nagran were by his side meant that Yudhir couldn't feel entirely at ease. Fine, calm down. Since I have confirmed that the people I found are indeed those healers, I will also share a piece of information from my end. ... Keol, who was about to say something else, quickly fell silent. Yudhir searched his memory and slowly opened his mouth. Do you remember when you said those people seemed like frauds because they weren't mages, doctors, or priests? Yes. It seems like you were right. Their power lies elsewhere. What are you talking about? The same power you see before you, in me. For a moment, Keol swallowed a gasp and choked, breaking into a fit of coughs that reddened his face. Finally, regaining his composure, he asked in a voice that was almost a croak. Are you saying they are awakeners? ... That's impossible. If my father had known, he would never have led them into the Bright Palace in the first place. And what about the people who introduced us to them? Not one of them ever mentioned this. If they have been lying, I would have found out and never forgiven them. You don't even know their names, so your forgiveness is meaningless, Yudhir thought inwardly, knowing Keol couldn't hear his response, and opened his mouth. Power can be hidden, as much as one wishes. I have never heard of someone awakening to a healing power. Even among your cavalry, there is not one like that. If such a person existed, everyone would already know. Yes, you're right. When Yudhir obediently responded, Keol looked skeptical. So, what is it? What are you trying to say? You still don't get it? What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if it's not a healing power. If you can make people believe in another power, that's all that matters. What?